नमस्कार. हेडोनाच्या या खाशेल्या कार्यावळीत तुमचे सगळ्यांचे स्वागत. आज आमचे बरोबर एक विशेष असे गेस्ट असतात. आज आमचे बरोबर असतात इजाज अहमद असलम, जे जमाते इस्लामी हिंद संघटनेचे भारतातल्या सगळ्यात व्हडल्या मुस्लिम संघटनेचे सेक्रेटरी जावन आसा. ते गोंयांत आयिल्ले तेन्ना तांणी खासा मुलाखत दिवपा खातीर ते आमच्या स्टुडियो भितर आयल्यात. सर, स्वागत है आपका हमारे स्टूडियो में.
बहुत शुक्रिया.
We'll start with the main issue, the ideological issue only.
Okay.
So when the organization started, somewhere there was a concept of Islamic State behind it. 60 years down Indian independence, how do you look at that purpose of your organization?
Actually speaking, it was not the concept of state which Jamaat Islami was started for. Jamaat Islami was started in 1941 by one Maulana Sayyid Abul Ala Maududi, who was, I think, born perhaps in Aurangabad, but he had settled in Delhi. He said that Islam should be better known to the people. On the one hand, he said that Muslims, they should understand Islam and they should imbibe the spirit of Islam, they should follow Islam. And at the same time, Islam has not come only for Muslims, Islam has come for the entire humanity. Therefore, it must be presented to our countrymen. That was the concept.
Okay.
I know, just see, there is a misunderstanding that Jamaat Islami stands for Islamic State, because state is the last stage. First of all, what is the worldview of an organization, what is the ideology that should be presented, and that is in this case Islam. What is Islam? Then Islam is not only for...
Why do you call it a last view? State is the last view. What is the concept behind it?
Because nowadays the humanity has become very organized, and the highest thing which controls the state, people, is the state. But no, just see, we must understand these steps. Then people should follow it. They should worship God. At the same time, their character should be on the basis of Islam. Then social norms should be accepted. Then economic principles should be. Then finally, state will come. Another thing is that even when it started, when India and Pakistan were one, at that time, it's quite possible Muslims might have been 30%. Main aim was to present Islam. And it is natural evolution.
But who constitute this Islamic State? Who are the people who belong to it? It is only people who belong to Islam, or people from other religions also? The conceptually, who are the people who belong to it?
No, it's for example, if Muslims are in a majority in a country, then they will have the Islamic State, and it is unthinkable that Muslims should be 30% or 20% or 10% and they can have an Islamic State. It's not possible. Practically, it's not possible. Therefore, our stress, Jamaat Islami stress, has not been on the state, but Islam per se.
Do you think there are too many misconceptions in the society about the religion because of the various factors, maybe extremism and all the organizations who are doing so many things in the name of jihad? Do you think there have been too many misconceptions in the last couple of decades? They have increased over a period of time, and the perspective of people to look towards Islam has changed. Somewhere the misconceptions have seeped in.
No, just see, religion is, whichever religion it may be, whether it is Hinduism or Christianity or Islam, religion has lost its grips on the minds and lives of the people. Same is the case with Muslims. And now just see, most of the Muslim countries were under the influence of, or under the subjugation of Western powers. It is after 1950 that gradually they started getting their independence, isn't it? And at that time, Islam had become a religion of only mosque. Actually, it is not. Islam has come for the society, and Muslims had this wrong concept also, that Islam has come only for Muslims. That is, it had become a Muslim-centered religion. Jamaat Islami wanted to break that shell of mind and to tell the people that Islam has come for the entire humanity. For example, just see, Jamaat Islami says, and this is the correct concept of Islam, that God is one, humanity is one, and the benefit or loss of the humanity lies in certain moral principles. Different prophets came at different stages of human history. Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet, and all of them, they brought Islam. Isn't it? What is
so why the misconceptions? Who is responsible for these misconceptions?
For example,
first question is why, and second is who?
No, just see, for example, Muslims, they are not fully following Islam. There are 58 Muslim countries and they are not implementing Islam. That is one of the reasons. And people, they don't know. And when people don't know, then they fall prey to misconceptions.
Who is responsible for these misconceptions?
A number of things are responsible, a number of factors.
Mm.
To some extent Muslims, to some extent the other people who are just nurturing and developing these misconceptions without knowing. Because most of the people, they don't go to the scriptures, they don't go to the authentic literature, isn't it? Just they see what is being shown on the TV or what is being written in newspapers.
Which is the biggest misconception about Islam right now in India that you think?
No, Islam is not properly known. It's very difficult for me to just analyze and say which is the biggest misconception. But misconceptions are there, and people, they don't know about Islam.
Coming to the main issue, where does jihad stand practically? You have studied scriptures, you have gone to the original literature.
Correct.
And this is becoming the bone of contention of every issue. Where does jihad stand as far as Islam is concerned?
Islam makes a clear distinction between jihad and fasad. Fasad means disruption, disorder. For example, God says in the Holy Quran, La tufsidul arza bada islahiha. When everything has been set right, after that you don't promote disorder. Jihad is just struggling to do some good, to promote good. In this way, if I am presenting Islam, if I am following Islam, it is a jihad. If I am presenting Islam, it is a jihad. And killing a person or indulging in violence, that is not jihad. That is the misrepresentation or misuse of Islam.
Misuse of Islam.
Of course.
You will call it a misuse of Islam.
Course.
So whatever these extremist organizations are doing or these terrorist organizations are doing, that is not jihad.
That is not jihad.
The word jihad is only used
of course
to grab attention and to divert the attention and to misguide people.
One more thing is there. Take the case of Iraq. Saddam Hussein was there. He was a dictator. I do not have any brief for him. Nobody likes him. He was not representing Islam or Muslims. He was ruling with his boot. He was a military dictator. But what America did, why America went there? America said that Saddam Hussein, Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Then they went there. They captured it. Then they just planted their own people, those people who are subservient to them.
Yeah.
People are fighting there. If anybody comes to India and tries to subjugate India, what we Indians will do? We will fight tooth and nail.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And some of them, they are calling it jihad. Take the case of Afghanistan. What's the population of that poor country? 3 crores. And why America has gone there? To control the Central Asian republics who have oil. And now it has been come to the news that Afghanistan also had got minerals worth trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
America is there, but it is very difficult for America to sustain there. And recently Gorbachev, who fought, he has said that it is not possible to win the war in Afghanistan. And America, because of its internal problems, wants to withdraw. And if those people, they are fighting, is it not jihad? Are they not fighting for their independence? If we fight for our independence, Indian independence, that is jihad for India.
But what about that so-called fight in Kashmir? Will you call it a fight for independence and will you call it a justified jihad?
No, I will not call it jihad. No, but just see, my point of view is that Kashmir, it's a very complicated issue. It is spoiling the relations between India and Pakistan, and it should be properly dealt with. Therefore, government of India also has realized it, and they have just appointed some interlocutors.
You do not call it a war of independence. You are not ready to agree that it is a war of independence.
No, I don't call it. I don't call it. I am an Indian, and I want. Recently also, a few months back, I was in Kashmir. I told some people there that just see, only stone throwing will not solve your problems. You must evolve yourself. You must improve yourself educationally. They did not like it, what I said. They took it very wrongly. Anyway, that was my opinion, and I presented my opinion there. But it's a very complicated issue because Kashmiris, they are very much alienated. All people are alienated, isn't it? They are suffering, but strike after strike is taking place. Anyway, it is better for people of Kashmir, for people of India, and also neighboring country Pakistan to solve it in some better way.
Better way. If you move forward, have you ever tried to communicate or coordinate with those extremist groups in Kashmir? and
It's
tell them that
not possible for us. We don't have any contacts with Kashmir. And as I told you, just in the month of May, perhaps between 10th and 20th of June, I was there. I was invited there by one Islamic studies circle, and there in a gathering of about 300 people, I presented this view that they should evolve themselves educationally and socially, isn't it? And only stone throwing or such things, it will not do anything. We do not have any contacts with them.
would you like to consult, coordinate with them and tell them that this is not what Islam is?
I told you that we have very limited contacts with the people of Kashmir, isn't it? Especially Jamaat Islami, India has no contacts. I was there in my personal capacity, and this is the reaction which I faced. They did not like it. And then the person who was, elderly person who was presiding, he had to intervene. He has to just console those people and say that unfortunately our people have been pushed to the wall. Therefore, they do not find any other way than stowing the thrones.
Then throwing the stone. Coming to the next issue, tell me one thing. You said about education and you said about the social backwardness. Do you think that educational, social and economic backwardness remain the biggest challenges in front of Islamic society in India?
No, just see, we have been trying here, for example, our main concern is not only Muslims, but because we are a part of Islam and Muslims, therefore our priority is that we should develop Muslims socially, economically, religiously, politically, in every aspect. And at the same time, we want...
But what are the biggest challenges that you see Indian Muslim facing?
Now, I will say that biggest challenge is Islam. They should understand Islam. They should follow it. Islam is not for sloganeering. Islam is for following, putting it into action, so that the people, their neighbors and other Indians, they may know what is Islam. Islam should be in action. That is the biggest
Just
challenge.
before going into the break, as we have reached to this topic, I want to ask you one crucial question. What would you tell them, being a good Indian or being a good Muslim?
I don't find any contrast in being a good Muslim and good Indian. A good Muslim must be a good Indian. Now just see, a person has got different capacities. I was born in Karnataka, in Bangalore. I have settled in Tamil Nadu. I am working in Delhi and whole of the country. I am a Kannadiga, I am a Tamilian because my family is there. I am an Indian. I am a Muslim. Many personalities just merge in a person.
Are you a Muslim first or are you an Indian first?
That's. I think it's not a good question. It's a. I think don't mind it, but it's
Yeah,
not a
definitely.
proper or it's a foolish question, isn't it? When I was born,
Why?
no, I was born when I was a man, independent person, isn't it? My personality developed. At the same time, I am the son of this lady and son of that man. I was born in a particular place. A man has got different aspects, and he must try to do justice to all those aspects. I am an Indian citizen. At the same time, I am a world citizen. Isn't it? We have,
So you don't want to make any difference between the two?
as I told you, I have many aspects, and I must try to do justice to all those aspects.
All those aspects. And you don't want to differentiate between any?
No.
You don't want to differentiate between any?
And
So-
I think by being a good Muslim, I can be a good Indian also.
So you look at it from that point of view.
Of course.
So या हाजेर आम्ही हांगा ल्हानसो व्यावसायिक विसव घेतात. बऱ्याच विशयाचेर पावल्या चर्चा. 2 मिनटां भितर आमी परत येतले, खंयच वचनाकात. आजूक मुखार आनी कितलेशेच प्रश्न आसात. खुबशा महत्वाच्या प्रश्नांचेर उलोवपाचें उरलां. 2 मिनटां भितर आमी परत येतात. पळयत रावात प्रुडंट मिडिया.
And every Sunday at 7:30, the music starts.
Just gonna stand there and watch me. But
Have a show like Oprah. Seen a type before that girl is.
Request for your very song on Upbeat.
Dominic requests for the track Will You Be There? Dishan Syed requested for a track. We have Pooja's request.
Once in a way, catch up with some celebrities on Upbeat.
We have with us Mukesh Gatwal. Hi Mukesh, how are you?
Hi Nikhil.
When I started, I used to always carry tapes wherever I went.
Watch Watch Upbeat Sunday 7:30 p.m., 9:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. On Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. and on Thursday at 12:30 p.m. and 5 p.m. only on Prudent Media.
नमस्कार. विसवा उपरांत तुमका येवकार आणि आमचे बरोबर आसात इजाज अहमद असलम, जमाते इस्लामी हिंदाचे सेक्रेटरी. आणि खूप बहुत एक अच्छे मोड पे पहुंच गई है डिस्कशन हमारी. फ्रॉम दैट लेट मी टेल इफ आई टेक इट अहेड, सो कहीं पे ये होता है कि मुस्लिम्स आर बीन यूज्ड एज अ वोट बैंक इन इंडिया एंड सम पार्टीज आर मैनिपुलेटिंग देम, यूजिंग देम टू कम टू द पावर. हाउ डू यू लुक एट इट? डू यू फील दैट मुस्लिम्स आर बीइंग यूज्ड एज अ वोट बैंक?
No, just see, it is the strategy which the political parties and politicians adopt, that they try to create some vote banks and use them. But every individual, unfortunately, every individual is not up that standard, isn't it? And groups are there, for example, Govans are there and Marathi people are there, isn't it? And politicians, they try to use it, isn't it? But I think that every individual Indian citizen should be given this training, that he should be conscious about his duty, duty to his country, duty to his people. Okay, doesn't matter. For example, if a person is living in Maharashtra, then he will think more about Maharashtrians. But he should not have any hatred against anybody else.
You should not have any hatred against
Of course,
anybody
of
else.
course.
But somewhere you think that people of India are not only Muslims, maybe Hindus also. Do you think that are we allowing ourselves to be manipulated and used as a vote bank at the hands of politicians? And it is
No, as I
we
told
are
you,
at fault.
As I told you, politicians, they will use all the wily things, all the clever things to use the people. But people, they should also unite, and especially the human rights organizations and social organizations and NGOs, they should constantly work to make people conscious about their duties and their larger interests of the country.
Larger interest of the country. Tell me one thing. You are the biggest Muslim organization in this country. Do you people have political ambition?
Now just see, we are feeling it. For example, take the case of the Muslims. If you go to any assembly, you will find that Muslim representation is about 45 to 55%. They are not being represented. They do not have enough number of MLAs. Therefore, a time may come when Jamaat Islami may enter this, isn't it? But for the time being, we are just thinking about participating in panchayat elections, because that's smaller constituencies and less corruption is there. As far as big assemblies are there, you know what is being done by the MLAs and other people. They are just controlling the minds. They are controlling the big people, corporate sections, isn't it?
So if you people get into the political arena tomorrow, what will be your agenda? What will be your main priority? Will it
Justice in India for everybody, including the Muslims and downtrodden people and Dalits and smaller groups, and at the same time social welfare and a society which is free from corruption. That would be our main agenda.
These three things will be your main agenda.
Mainly these things: justice, freedom from corruption, and provision of education and all other facilities to especially downtrodden sections.
Have you thought about any deadline to launch this political campaign, where you can become probably the first party like Jamaat-e-Hind, which is coming out as a Muslim party with these very democratic
Please
issues?
remember one thing.
Yeah.
We will not work only for Muslims.
Yeah, with
That is
democratic,
not
with
our,
all these
that is
democratic
not our
issues.
agenda.
Yeah.
We will do everything in the light of Islam, and I told you what is our concept of Islam. It has come for the welfare of the whole humanity, whole country.
That is true,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Therefore, we will.
My question is, have you set any deadline for this? Because
No deadline has been set.
Till date, many parties have come and said that we are here to protect the interest of Muslims and everything. First time a Muslim organization will come forward and say that now we want to become a political party, and with all these democratic issues.
For the time being, we do not have any such plan to just enter politics, isn't it? But gradually, when we will get some strength, we will get some like-minded people, like-minded sections, then it's quite possible.
Right
Gradually
now,
we will do that.
what is the membership base that you people have all over the
Jamaat
country?
Islami, as I told you, and I am thankful to God for this, it is the largest Muslim organization. But the organization which is basically working for Islam, not for Muslims. Of course, Muslims, they come in the priority, no doubt about it. And our members are very selected. We have about 8,000 members and about 50,000 workers. We call them workers. Karkun, we call them. Karyakarta.
Okay.
Members and Karyakarta.
Okay.
Then we have lakhs of our other workers. But it is a cadre-based organization. We just control our workers. We just look into their personal things, their character, their family and everything. Therefore, only such people, they are made the members of Jamaat.
How much do you think the scenario has changed after the Babri verdict?
One good thing which I am finding, especially after this Allahabad verdict, is that it's very good thing that people are less communalized, less categorized, and people are giving importance to some other pending problems or impending problems like education, like social uplift, like economic well-being of the people. And there was a time when people were swept away by communal feelings, and Babri Masjid had become the largest and biggest problem. Now it's a good thing. For example, people have taken it very coolly, and they have said, the concerned parties, that they will go to the Supreme Court and they will fight it there, and let us accept whatever Supreme Court says. It's a good thing. It's a positive
Have we
thing.
moved ahead in last 2 decades?
Of course, of course.
And what do you think are the main reasons behind it?
As I told you, it happens sometimes some political parties or some communal elements, they sweep the minds of the people and they say that this is the biggest problem. And at that time, religion was used to create walls between people and communities and communities.
Karl Marx called religion the opium of masses. Do you agree with Karl Marx or you disagree with Karl Marx?
I don't agree with Karl Marx, isn't it? And Karl Marx should know what how communism has become it has failed in those countries, isn't it? Because that dialectical materialism, that was not a natural thing.
Then what
Therefore, that
about
is
what he
failed.
said about religion?
As I said,
See, in the past, instances have proved that it does act like opium. The way you said, political parties manipulated.
every
and
good thing can be misused, isn't it? Even if you have to sell some false metal, then you have to say that it is gold. Therefore, religion is being misused by people. But religion, real religion, it stands for submission to God, for creation of good atmosphere. And
that's the ideal thing that you are
Yes, of
talking.
course.
Don't you think Karl Marx was more practical in saying that?
Karl Marx, to some extent, just see religion because it was misused.
Do you ever think we will understand the real meaning of religion, the idealistic meaning of religion? How much time it will take us to understand it?
No, it's very difficult. I am not a social scientist. I can't say how much time it takes. But people are there who are trying to promote the real spirit of religion, and we are trying to do that.
Is it possible to reach to that ideal stage
Why
that we are
not?
talking
Why
about?
not? Why should we be disappointed with the human beings? I remember that Rabindranath Tagore had said that every child who is born on this earth brings this message from God, that God is still not disappointed with man. There is some room for improvement of the man.
So you are hopeful.
Yes, we must be hopeful.
You are completely.
Sometimes we should hope against hopelessness. Even when there is hopelessness, when there is a darkness, we should try to just catch that one ray of hope which is there.
What do you think, coming to the state and the last part of our interview, what do you think it should be? A state should be secular in what terms? A state should not believe in religions, or state should give equal importance to all religions? These are two different aspects. What do you think state should do?
So just see, one concept of secularism is God should be banished from the human life and he should be only worshipped. I do not subscribe to that concept of secularism because, as I told you, religion starts for certain basic beliefs and basic concepts and basic promotion of justice in the society. Therefore, religion should not be banished. But at the same time, I stress that real spirit of religion should be promoted in the society.
So there should be equal importance to all religions rather than
Of course,
no participation of religion.
And I just see, when I analyze religion, the small study which I have made of different religions, you will find 90% or even more than 90% of the basic things in religion, they are same. Religion stands for worshipping God, for respecting Him, for accepting His law, for implementing justice and social cohesion, such things. That is the real spirit of religion.
So that is how states should look at it, rather than just banishing religion from the
Of course.
governance.
And especially India is a basically religious country. People believe in God here. You will not find, when our census figures come, atheists would be just less than 1%. People, they believe in God, and it is on the basis of belief in God that we want to rebuild Indian society.
End of the interview, my last question to you, and you might call this question foolish again, and I don't mind it because you have every right to call it, and you are very senior to me, so there is no issue of this. But this is a question.
I should not make you angry.
No, I am not at all angry. I told you, you can call it foolish, and still I won't mind it. But this is one thing that is there in my mind, but it will be in the minds of many people across this country. With the question that I want to ask you, is that as a Muslim, which becomes the priority, or as an individual, which book becomes the priority to you, the Quran or the Constitution of India, when you function in the society?
Just see, Constitution of India has undergone about 120 amendments. Constitution of India has been created by the best mind, Baba Saheb Ambedkar and other people and legal luminaries, isn't it? And nobody has claimed that Constitution of India is some everlasting document, isn't it? Many changes take place. 120
fundamentals remain same.
No, 120 amendments. Even in fundamental principles, certain changes have taken place.
The fundamentals of Constitution remain same.
Instead of answering it directly, I will say, let the people read the Quran. What is Quran?
Yeah.
Quran says, it claims, Prophet Muhammad never claimed that I have brought any new message. He said, I have brought the quintessence or elixir of the previous messages.
Yeah.
Therefore, let a person read and understand.
You
it.
don't want to give a direct answer to it.
No, as far as I am concerned, Quran, it is a scripture, isn't it? It has come from God. It has come for all times. Therefore, let people read and understand it. As far as I am there, I am following it. At the same time, I respect the Constitution of India because our Constitution of India, it has taken the best things from different constitutions, and it has been evolved in such a way. For example, the Constitution of India says, this constitution is being promulgated so that justice may be promoted. And it has explained justice, social justice, economic justice, and political justice. That is what I want.
Yeah.
Likewise, our constitution has based its preamble on the principles of liberty, and equality and fraternity. They are fundamental principles.
Yeah.
Every religious person will like that. Therefore, I respect it, I follow it, I am trying to implement it.
But the closest book to your heart will always remain Quran.
Of course, no doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
I believe in it. Of course.
या हाजेर एका वेगळ्याच हाजेर आमी ही आयची मुलाखत हांगा सोंपयतात. खूब फ्रँक गजाली सांगल्यो, कांय मिसकॉन्सेप्शन्स क्लियर केली, जिहादाचो कसो चुकीचो अर्थ लायलो वता तेंय सांगले, आनी त्याच बरोबर खंय तरी जमाते इस्लामी हिंद सारक्या इंडियेंतल्या सगळ्यांत व्हडल्या मुस्लीम ऑर्गनायजेशनाक आज खंय तरी पॉलिटिकल एम्बिशन्सूय कशी दिसपाक लागल्या, तेही ताणें सांगलें. तर आप हमारे स्टूडियो में आए और इतना फ्रैंक इंटरव्यू दिया. इट वाज अ रियली प्लेजर टॉकिंग टू यू. You elaborated on all the aspects.
I thank you, and I thank all the listeners and viewers who are saying this. And I believe basically in this, that whatever is in my heart, I should present it before my brothers.
Absolutely, sir. It was really pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.